AI for a Van Neumann probe. So a Van Neumann probe would be a probe that we send out into space that's run by an artificial intelligence, and it comes with the replication ability to make more of itself, so that it would keep spreading out exponentially. And so the whole thing is, him learning how to control himself at first, and then going out into space and getting used to, being out there. But like all these other factions sent ships out there too, so he has to deal with them. And it's really cool the way it all pans out. When he replicates himself, every time he does, his personality changes a little bit. So they all start calling themselves by different names. So the original one calls himself Bob, but then other ones name themselves off of like characters from TV shows.
Riker.
Riker is one of them. Homer, Bender, like he names himself off of all.
After Carl Sagan, like it's fantastic.
Yeah, and
that sounds very cool, and it sounds kind of it's reminiscent of Anne McCaffrey's "The Ship Who Sang."
Oh my God, yes.
Shout out to Anne. She's fucking so great.
Oh my God. I reread the Pay to Be series recently. Did you remember that one?
Oh, geez, to be honest, the stuff of hers that I haven't read the most of is Pern. I think I've only read a couple of Pern short stories.
I've only read 5 of the Pern novels. I read the first 3, and then one, like the Dolphins of Pern, and another one. But that, like, she was one that I would fall into a well of her writing, and then I'd move on to something else. But 5 years later, I'd fall back into all the Rowan books.
I love her stuff. Like the Crystal Singer books are so fucking cool. And Dragon Riders of Pern obviously are just legendarily cool. A story and intellectual property, as they would say now. I have no idea I would like to know who's got the fucking rights to Dragon Riders of Pern, and can we get a decent series of that made?
Oh my God, from your lips. Some of them might have to be rewritten a little bit. That first book's a little bit, but
listen, there's all sorts of stuff that's problematic per se. And I mean, McCaffrey's problematic with her ableist attitude, like Ship Who Sang. The idea that somebody who's disabled, would have a choice to, be put into this ship. There's issues with that. Yeah, but you work around it. Jesus, I'm a fan of fucking Lovecraft.
Oh, can we talk about Lovecraft Country for like 2 seconds?
Oh yeah, please talk about Lovecraft Country. Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, and that show had certain issues with representation where it failed. Obviously with trans representation, and the creator, whose name escapes me, of course. The creator of the series, not the novelist, Matt Ruff, I believe, is the novelist. Who's a white guy, by the way. But the creator of the series, she was saying, I kind of dropped the ball with that, with the trans spirit that they bring back, and Michael K. Williams kills. So, but I mean, what the show managed to do was amazing. It was absolutely incredible.
It really was that was like my so far, like one of my happiest surprises from this year as far as like TV shows go. Like that and Queen's Gambit were probably the top 2 that I got into this year that I was like, wow, these are incredible.
I'm still going to give The Good Place and Schitt's Creek. Those were 2 that I found the show.
Oh, yeah.
Schitt's Creek is so spectacular. I'm on season 5 now. My good friend, another Cat, who is a friend of mine, my friend Cat Famera, she's been into that show since season 1, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's so good! Oh my God, it's so good!" And I like after a while, I'm like, "All right, I'll check it out." And I like watched a bit of season 1. I'm like, "This show is fucking great." And then for some reason, I didn't start watching it. And then the accolades and success that it got this year are so well deserved.
Oh yeah,
no doubt.
It was a great show.
It really is.
It was one of those like weird, like the shows that you could easily, every time you come across it, you're just like, maybe I'll get to it someday, before you actually watch it. And then one day, for no reason, you're just like, yeah, you know what? I guess I'll give this a try. And it's one of those shows that you love.
And then you're like, why did I wait so long for?
Exactly.
Yeah. Listen, I did not start watching The Wire until after season 5.
I never watched it.
Yeah, it's still on the list. It's one of our best friends.
Yeah, guys, I know it's one of those things that, particularly, middle-aged white guys are like, you gotta watch The Wire. But it's really that good. It really, even when that show is not at its best, it's still better than 90% of the stuff on television. And follow David Simon on Twitter. He's fucking hilarious. I believe it's at AO Despair is his Twitter handle. And
I can't believe you actually just made that Michael Kenneth Williams character. Like, wasn't he also in The Wire?
Yeah, he's Omar.
Yeah.
And also he plays Leonard Pine in the Hap and Leonard TV series based on the novels by my buddy Joe Lansdale.
Nice.
Which, have you guys watched that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's available streaming somewhere. I'm sure you guys can stream it for free. The characters of Hap Collins and Leonard Pine, who are played by the great James Purefoy, is Leonard Pine.
I love him.
He's so good because he kind of looks like Joe, and Hap is a thinly disguised version of Joe Lansdale. And Michael K. Williams plays Leonard Pine, who is a character that was based on several of Joe's friends. And it's a period piece that takes place in the late 80s. And the idea is that Hap Collins is this good old boy who was a hippie. He was against the war, not because he didn't believe in fighting, but because he didn't believe in that specific fight. And he ends up, rather than going to Vietnam, he ends up going to Leavenworth because he refuses to go, and not as a conscientious objector, so they throw his ass in Leavenworth, which almost happened to Joe in real life.
Yeah.
So, and Leonard Pine, as I said, was based on several people that Joe was friends with, is a black guy who did serve in Vietnam, is a Republican, and openly gay.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
We have a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when Joe published the first novel, Savage Season, in '89, people were like, there is no such thing as a black queer Republican. And Joe was like, I'm from East Texas. You would be fucking surprised. And Leonard is just he's one of the greatest characters of mystery fiction in the last, the last 25 years, as far as I'm concerned, last 30 years, actually, I should say. And when they cast Michael K. Williams as him, I'm like, it's the most perfect casting.
Sometimes when they get it right.
Yeah, sometimes they fucking really get it right. And it had 3 seasons. It was IFC Networks, not IFC. It's Sundance. It was Sundance Channel's highest rated show ever.
Wow.
Brian Dennehy's the bad guy in season 3.
Oh, Brian Dennehy, I love
Christina
him.
Hendricks is the co-star season 1.
Now Brian's brain just exploded, so there you go.
Oh, she's delightful.
Yeah, she plays Hap Collins' ex-wife, and Hap has an affinity for bad women.
I mean, who doesn't really?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm always going on about Joe. I mean, you guys hear me fucking talk about Joe all the time, and Joe will be on this show at some point. But that series is well worth checking out. And anyway, so Kat, give us your suggestion of what you're reading, listening to, watching.
Okay.
Absorbing.
All right, so I am a horrible geek because when I was a child, I never read the Wheel of Time series. I was a Dune kid, I was a Tolkien kid, but I wasn't ever a Wheel of Time kid. And I don't know how I
Never read
missed
it myself.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to make your listeners hate me.
Don't.
Because I did not care for it. I got a book and a half in.
It's okay.
And I was done. And unfortunately, now this is going to be a long-winded way to get to where I'm going, but I'll get there, I promise. When I was done, I was actually listening to it on Audible while I was working at an art school. And there really is no, like, when you're working like that, you need to focus your brain on what you're listening to. So I was very hyper aware of the book, couldn't listen to it. And then Brian had recommended the Codex Alera by Jim Butcher. And it had so many things I was into, the missing Roman legion and powers that you connect with the elements and all this amazing stuff. And it was the same narrator who had done the Wheel of Time book. And I hated that book's, like, it was so uncomfortable for me to listen to. I was like, I can't even try this now. It's not against her. It was just Robert Jordan was not my kind of writer.
She reminded you too much of the trauma.
It was just like, I can't do this now. So Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan had an idea in my head. So I never got into Brandon Sanderson because of the connection there. Because Brandon Sanderson started writing
He's continued the books after Robin Jordan passed.
And I have been told by multiple Wheel of Time fanatics that if you can just get to the Brandon Sanderson books, it's so worth it. I'm like, I'm not slogging through 15 books that I don't like.
If you can just get to the Brandon Sanders, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It's like
No, the one I've heard too is like the one I've heard too is like if you can get like I think it's like the seventh book really blows up and everything. I'm like the seventh book. I was like the seventh book wouldn't be so bad if it was like, you know, like one of the Dragonlance novels that's only like 300 pages. But his books are tremendous.
It took me until, to be honest, and I was so familiar with Tolkien's works through the Tolkien Encyclopedia and
so you can get through
all
some
of that
wordy
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right. I did not read The Lord of the Rings until right before the film, the film version came out. I didn't read the first book because I could never get past the bullshit of them fucking around in the goddamn Shire.
Oh, yeah, and the descriptions, the leaf on the tree and the meadow and
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
But it's very thick.
Once they're out of the Shire and the fucking ring wraiths are chasing them,
here we go.
Done. And I wish I had realized that as a kid because I tried to read it multiple times through middle school and then high school. And it just, I couldn't get past it. And then
I had the same problem.
Yeah. I'm not hearing it starts to kick off in the seventh book.
No, like sorry, and I can't. So that being said, I started saying, you know what? A lot of people I respect who actually like have books taste that are very similar to me really do like Brandon Sanderson. So why don't I just cut out the Robert Jordan connection and go to his books? So I read his Starsight. It's a 2-book series so far. Like it's one of his newer ones. And I loved them so much that now I'm on the Mistborn series. I'm on book 2 of the Mistborn, The Well of Ascension. And it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It is like it's the action's good, the intrigue's there, the political aspect's there, but it's not beating you over the head with it. It's just part of the wonderful story. And I'm here for all of it.
Awesome. That's fantastic. It's great when a friend of mine discovers a new, a new series or, something to enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back into reading more. Like it's frustrating in the modern era. We're constantly in front of a screen, and I do read stuff. I read articles so like going through my comic collection, I'm like, man, I got to fucking just find more time to just sit down and enjoy reading.
Yeah. But you have to turn off the other stuff and totally engage your brain, not being fed to you so easily. Like this year was one of the hardest book years. Like I set a goal for how many books I want to read a year. this was the hardest time I've ever had going to that goal, because there was so much that I'm like, there's so much, I have so many things coming at my brain at once with this world. Let me just binge this show on Netflix. Let me just, and there's nothing wrong because they're phenomenal shows out there, but I wasn't